Welcome back, guys, to another video. This is the Jake Ellenbogen channel, and I am Jake Ellenbogen. I'm here today because, well, I was just scrolling through Twitter, minding my own business, and all of a sudden I see this video, this clip of Joy Taylor of Fox Sports 1. I have no issue with her. I've never really ever done any video on her. It's been Nick Wright. I've had all sorts of issues with some of Nick Wright's opinions. Again, I want to make this very clear. I respect these people a ton for what they do, going on, every day, coming out with content. I'm a fellow content creator, so I get it. But Joy Taylor's opinion on Carson Wentz was so bad that I kid you not, folks, I literally just got off Twitter and just ran to go make a video. It is so bad. So I'm not going to play it because I'd like to be monetized in this video and I'd like it to not get copyrighted because Fox did that the last time to me when I pulled the Nick Wright video. But basically, in a nutshell, this is the quote: "When did Carson Wentz actually win the NFL MVP? He didn't. He didn't physically win the Super Bowl. What has Carson Wentz done that merits him having the issues he had in Philadelphia? You're not Aaron Rodgers," says Joy Taylor. I think this clip is terrible. First off, I had to make a video because it was that bad. And real quick, if you like me, or if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon. You'll get all of my videos. You'll get alerts to all of them. But anyway, back to the show. Back to the video. So it irks me beyond belief, because she uses the words in this video. You can find it first things first. It was put on Twitter. I actually quote tweeted it at JKBoganDTSN. And she says things along the lines of the anointed one and needing everything around him, which, cracks me the hell up. Because let's be real here. Was Carson Wentz the anointed one? Carson Wentz was not the anointed one. Carson Wentz is actually a pretty cool story, because Carson Wentz didn't go to Alabama. He didn't go to an LSU. He didn't go to a top school. Carson Wentz went to North Dakota State. That's what Carson Wentz was. So this idea that he's the anointed one, I find very funny. And this idea that he had all these guys around him, I also find very, very funny. So, look, Carson Wentz, he had a rough 2020, and I know people equate that to the fact that they drafted a quarterback in the second round, put some pressure on him. Fine, whatever you want to say. But look, this guy, I don't even think I think he was a 0-star recruit, if I'm being honest. He goes to North Dakota State, which, by the way, isn't in the FBS, isn't eligible to be in the college football playoff. They're considered the Alabama of the FCS, but he worked his tail off. And he ended up being selected in the 2016 draft, second overall. I personally thought he should have gone first overall. I liked him more than Jared Goff. Pro-style offense. Felt like he had a better arm. He was more accurate. Better pocket presence. Took more command of the huddle. I had fewer question marks about how much of a scheme reliant guy he was, whereas Goff, I had those question marks. But this isn't about my past. This isn't about the fact that I had Carson Wentz at QB1. This is the fact I'm so tired. And it just happened. Carson Wentz was traded to the Colts. You guys have heard my stuff. You know how I feel. I think he's going to be huge with Frank Reich. I think the Colts are now a Super Bowl contender because I don't think they were that far away. I think they need a quarterback. Carson Wentz, since 2017, and if you don't include his last season, he started in 40 games. He's 25-15. He's got a 64.4 completion percentage, over 10,000 yards passing, 81 touchdowns, 21 interceptions. He's got a 98.3 passer rating and a 7.2 yards per attempt average. So this is a guy that just dinks and dunks. But let's go back to the matter at hand. The point of making this is the fact that Joy Taylor, and I have no issue with Joy Taylor. This is just entirely based on what she said. I thought it was entirely ignorant to come out and say, when did Carson Wentz actually win the MVP? We're going to basically break this down, and I'm going to explain exactly why she's wrong. So when did Carson Wentz actually win the MVP? Well, he didn't. But for those of you that know, in 2017, he had a very, very impressive season that was cut short due to the fact that he suffered a torn ACL in the game in LA against the Rams. He went 11-2. He had 33 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 101.9 passer rating, 7.5 yards per attempt average. And he led the Eagles to an 11-2 record. He tears his ACL, and then everything's all about Nick Foles. So the MVP thing is ridiculous. When he got hurt, I mean, come on now. When he got hurt, they were 11-2. So this idea that, well, he didn't actually win the MVP, he was the MVP favorite. It was him and Todd Gurley. Tom Brady ended up winning the MVP because he's 41 or whatever you want to call him at that point. But it should have been Carson Wentz if he stayed healthy. He was definitely on pace. I think he actually led the entire league in QBR. So, yeah, even despite the injury. So he missed out on that. And then I love this. And he didn't physically win the Super Bowl. So she takes a shot at the fact that he didn't win a Super Bowl because he tore his ACL. And I just find that so rich how we can go, we're now penalizing guys for taking their team to the playoffs or taking the team to 11-2 record, tearing their ACL while fighting for every single yard they can get, any touchdown. And then all of a sudden now we're in this boat where he didn't physically win the Super Bowl, Nick Foles did. Okay. I'm not saying you have to say that he won the Super Bowl, but do they get there with Nick Foles? Do you realistically think at 11-2 record with Carson Wentz? Do you think that for a second Nick Foles starts that whole season and they go 11-2 to start? Do you I don't think that. Maybe you do. That's fine. But also, we get to another point in this. What has Carson Wentz done that merits him having issues he had in Philadelphia? So it almost acts as though, and she talks about this in the video, she basically explains that she feels like Carson Wentz having an issue with the coaching and having issue with teammates and all that. I don't think we know that for sure. Okay? I don't think we know that for sure. I think he had an issue with Doug Peterson, and I don't think it's really fair the way he's portrayed. I don't think he's that type of guy. I tend to remember him bringing his teammates to his house, working with them in the off season. I don't know how Carson Wentz, where did we go from Carson Wentz being this class act guy to now being demonized and, villainized as a guy that, I obviously think that's what the media can do. And of course, Philadelphia media, that might happen. So that's ridiculous. You're not Aaron Rodgers is another ridiculous comment. Of course he's not Aaron Rodgers, but, let's keep this in mind. Carson Wentz isn't a bad quarterback. He had a bad season, okay? 2017 through 2019, I already told you the stats there. He was actually pretty impressive. His issue is that he only played one full season, had his 2017 season cut short due to a torn ACL, and then his 2018 season was cut short, okay? He's got 9 comebacks, 10 game-winning drives. So let's go back to the anointed one. How can you be anointed if you started from North Dakota State? The anointed one is Trevor Lawrence. You can't put one big board up. You can't say one thing about a QB1 and be anybody else other than Trevor Lawrence without getting, blowback. Trevor Lawrence is the definition of anointed. Andrew Luck, anointed. Peyton Manning, anointed. Okay? Carson Wentz is not anointed. This is wrong. And then this idea, he needed everything around him. What? Excuse me? He needed everything around him? I'm not going to say the Eagles' Super Bowl team was bad, because they weren't. And they had weapons. I'm not going to say they didn't have weapons. But I really find it's hilarious to me the double standard here where so and so need everything around him when I mean let's look, okay? He didn't even have a 1,000-yard rusher. Okay, his running backs were LeGarrette Blount, who everybody overrated. He had a 4.4 a yard per carry average. He had Jay Ajayi, who was solid. He had 408 yards that year. LeGarrette Blount led the team with 766 yards. Corey Clement had 321. Wendell Smallwood had 174. He had Darren Sproles for 3 games. And then Kenyon Barner. Those were his running backs. Okay, so I don't see, the crazy talent here. I don't see how he was carried there. Now let's see his receivers. Oh, wait, Zach Ertz had 824 yards. That's not a 1,000-yard receiver. Oh, wait, Alshon Jeffrey, he had 789 yards in a 16-game season. That's not a 1,000-yard receiver. Oh, wait, Nelson Aguilar had 768 yards. That's not a 1,000-yard receiver. And Torrey Smith at 430, and Trey Burton at 248, Matt Collins at 226, Brent Selleck at 130, Corey Clement at 123, Wendell Smallwood. I mean, wait a minute. What are we talking about here? They were 3rd in offense and 4th in defense. That's not having everything. That's not having everything at all. I mean, don't get me wrong. That's good. That's not number 1 in every category, and they didn't have, this top-notch, group of receivers and running backs. Well, let's look at 2018. Let's see what they had in 2018 because he had everything, right? Everything, folks. Look at Josh Adams with his, team leading 511, yards rushing, which, I mean, that's everything. Wendell Smallwood with 364 rushing yards. Corey Clement with 259. Jay Ajayi with 184. Darren Sproles, he had him for 6 games this year, 120 yards. That's a lot, folks. That's a lot of carrying. Wow, just imagine having that much support. Carson Wentz. He finally had his 1,000-yard receiver in Zach Ertz. He went 1,163 yards. Okay, there we go. What about Alshon Jeffrey? 843. Okay. Nelson Aguilar, 736. 334 for Goddard. 300 for Jordan Matthews. 278 for Golden Tate. This is all very, very interesting. So where are we at on this? Okay, let's look here. 18th in offense and 12th in defense. Okay, moving on. I'm sure, it's at least he had a 1,000-yard receiver. Okay, yeah, he's had a lot. Clearly he's being carried and he's not very good. I totally get that. What about the 1,000-yard receiver, or what about the 1,000-yard receiver and rusher in 2019? We'll look. Wait, Miles Sanders had 818. That's not 1,000. Jordan Howard with 525 rushing yards. That's not 1,000. Boston Scott with 245. Carson Wentz with 243. Now let's look at the receivers here. And Zach Ertz once again, but doesn't have 1,000. He had 916. Goddard had 607. Miles Sanders had 509. Alshon Jeffrey had 490. Aguilar 363. Greg Ward 254. Boston Scott 204. That is really interesting. It's almost as if maybe that narrative that just basically Joy just conjured out of thin air isn't actually true. Miles Sanders, I thought he had a pretty good year, to be honest with you. At 12 games, he had 867 yards. That's not a 1,000-yard receiver, though. 374 yards out of Boston Scott, 354 out of Jalen Hurts. But hold on a sec, because he only started 12 games. I mean, let's give the guy a break. I mean, I'm sure he had 2,000-yard receivers, right? Well, no. The leading receiver on the team was Travis Fulgham, a guy that's been cut 10 times, 539 receiving yards. Dallas Goedert, 524. Greg Ward, 419. Jalen Reagor, the rookie that they drafted in the first round. Great job, by the way, 396. Richard Rodgers, 345. Zach Ertz, 11 games, 335 yards. Deshaun Jackson, way over the hill Deshaun Jackson at 34 years old, 236 yards. Boston Scott, 212. John Hightower, the rookie, 167. Miles Sanders, 190. Okay. All right. I'm not going to read any more of this because this is ridiculous. This is my point. It's a BS narrative. This is why when you have a take, fine. You can have a take that's different than mine. That's totally fine. If you want to do that, go ahead. I have no care in the world, but at least back it up. I mean, this is just a false narrative. The anointed one I just basically blew back because he's not anointed. He worked his way up. He went to North Dakota State. He didn't go to Alabama. He wasn't the chosen one. Just like you can't say Joe Burrow was the anointed one. He worked his way up. He transferred from Ohio State. You can't say Tom Brady. He was a sixth-round pick. He wasn't anointed. And then needing everything around him point, well, we had 1,000-yard receiver, 0,000-yard rushers. The 2019 defense, they were 15th in the league. And then 2020, I mean, hate to break it to you, but they were 20th in the league. So he didn't have everything around him. Okay, Carson Wentz is not a perfect quarterback. He's been through some injuries. He's had some, setbacks here. I've said it for a while, and I'll say it again. Frank Reich was the engine of that offense. When he left after they won the Super Bowl and went to the Colts, the Eagles somewhat fell apart because Doug Peterson wasn't the guy. It was always Frank Reich. He was the guy behind it, the mastermind. So does that make Carson Wentz a system-reliant quarterback? I don't know. But what I can tell you is that the things that Joy Taylor said, it almost makes it sound like she has a personal vendetta against Carson Wentz. I've seen people saying that Cam Newton is better than Carson Wentz. Cam Newton hasn't been a good quarterback since 2015. Carson Wentz has had 3 good seasons, 2017, 18, and 19, and I think we just look too much at the record of those seasons, and we just assume that he didn't play well. He played well, okay? Maybe do a better job of drafting. I don't even know how Howie Roseman is still the GM there, to be honest with you. I don't. And the fact that the Eagles got rid of Carson Wentz for such a small amount to the Colts, you have no idea. Carson Wentz is going to a situation where he already has a 1,000-yard rusher, okay? And when you look at the receivers in Paris Campbell and Michael Pittman Jr., those are 2 second-round picks. I mean, I remember when Gregory Ward was like his go-to guy in the playoffs. So, look, okay, horrible narrative, horrible clip. I don't know where this whole, Carson Wentz is the devil narrative came from. I don't know where this whole Carson Wentz can't play in this league narrative came from, but I'm going to side with Carson Wentz. I think he's a legit quarterback. I think he's going to, move the needle for the Colts. I think there's going to be a lot of people regretting, all the flack that they give towards him. I think when it's all said and done, you're going to be looking at a quarterback that revitalized his career. I've said it on the live stream before. I'll say it again. You look at Ryan Tannehill. Everybody gave up on him. Ooh, he's getting paid way too much with Miami. Well, look at him now with Tennessee. So it can happen, okay? We saw Drew Brees leave the Chargers, and he emerged and really put himself up there in the elite ranks when he got to the Saints. It happens. Guys change teams, and, sometimes when you change the scenery, maybe Jared Goff needed to change his scenery. Not even saying the coaching staff would be better on the Lions, but maybe he just needed that. I can tell right now. Right now is that Carson Wentz is being dragged. And if you really look at it and you stop listening to the naysayers, you stop listening to people say, well, I watched him in 2020. Okay. He was not the same quarterback I watched in 2017, 18, and 19. Yeah, 2020 could be Carson Wentz. That could be the new Carson Wentz, but I don't buy it. And now that he's back with the OC that put him in a position to win the MVP, Joy Taylor, before he tore his ACL, Joy Taylor, now that he's with that said OC who's a head coach, I feel confident. And he's got Chris Ballard as his GM. So he won't be throwing to Gregory Ward. He won't be throwing to a guy that was cut 10 times. He'll be throwing to 2 second-round draft picks and maybe even another. He has a legit offensive line. They'll replace Anthony Costanzo at left tackle. And they have a legit defense. And maybe they'll go out and they'll get their buddies. Alshon Jeffrey might come. Maybe Zach Ertz comes. Who knows? But guess what? The Colts are ready, and that's why they got Wentz. This is a boom of a move for them, but the point of this video is to explain to you that this is all a BS narrative. How come we use this double standard all the time? I don't like said player, so I'm going to paint this, fake narrative that he needs everything around him to succeed. I don't get it. I really don't get it. Tom Brady had Antonio Brown, Hall of Famer. Godwin will someday will probably be a Hall of Famer, and Mike Evans. It was never, well, Tom Brady had everything around him. It was the media deflecting that and saying, well, Tom Brady had a limited offseason. Tom Brady had only been with this team. Okay, that's fine. And congrats on Tom Brady, by the way, for winning 7 rings. It's impressive. What they were able to do was impressive, but let's not act like that's different than this. Carson Wentz he never had weapons like that. So let's stop the narrative that he needed everything around him. Let's stop the narrative that he was the anointed one. And let's just feel bad for the guy, okay? I know he got paid a lot, but this guy loved Philly. And to be honest with you, I think they did him dirty. I think that's why he wanted to get out so bad. I think they did him way dirtier than Goff and the Rams. The Rams kept playing him. The Rams wouldn't draft a quarterback. They stuck by Goff. They stuck by him until they literally couldn't anymore. When Goff was turning the ball over 4 times in a game where they were holding the opposing quarterback to 100 yards, it was time to move on. With Carson Wentz, they were quick. After his 2019 season, which wasn't bad, they went out and they got Jalen Hurts in the 2nd round. So, yeah, sorry. I think they did him dirtier, and I think, the guy that's going to get the last laugh besides me, and probably some of you that are listening to this, because I know there are a lot of people that do side with Wentz, but this is to people that don't, and this is to Joy Taylor if she ever sees this. Carson Wentz is going to get the last laugh. Chris Ballard is going to get the last laugh. Frank Reich is going to get the last laugh. And Howie Roseman's going to get the can. I think they get rid of him after this year. And I think, we're going to see. We're going to finally see it. Doug Peterson, the guy's a nice guy, but I don't think it was ever him. I felt like it was always Reich. So it's time to put some respect on Carson Wentz's name. Go back. His stats are not as bad as you think. The film speaks for itself. You can say 2020 film was awful, and it absolutely was, but that's not him. You're the average of your worst season and your best season. That's what Colin Cowherd said on his show, which, by the way, he co-hosts with Joy Taylor now. I always use that because I think there's a lot of truth to that. Wentz has been given a deal, a raw deal. And I think it's finally time for him to show everybody that that's the case. So I appreciate you guys checking this video out. I wasn't planning on making a video or doing anything like that. I was going to take Friday off because I have the AJ show tomorrow, and then I was going to do a live stream tomorrow, and it's snowing like hell over here. But I had to. I needed you guys to know the sudden urgency I had. As soon as I was on Twitter, I'm looking at all this like WandaVision content because that was awesome. And then all of a sudden I see this Joy Taylor thing post and I'm like, are you kidding me? So yeah, I'm going to defend Carson Wentz. I cannot wait for the next season to, prove my biggest points. Carson Wentz can be fixed, and he's going to succeed with the Colts and Frank Reich. And Frank Reich was the guy over Peterson. And I can't wait for Stafford to prove everybody that he's an elite quarterback. But that has been this episode. So hope you guys enjoyed. If you like it, be sure to like it. And if you like me, be sure to subscribe and follow me on Twitter at JKBoganDTSN. I do follow back. And as always, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. And you guys take care.